It begins with a moment so minute, you might nearly blink it by. A dad, alone before a camera, softly confesses something that feels wrong, something that haunts. He admits he's jealous of how readily mothers love their kids. And not only jealous, but that unselfish love? It's not a natural thing to him. To a man who's been at the center of an expansive family of almost 20 children, that single confession hits like a thunderclap. Hi there, and welcome in. If you've followed Sister Wives over the years, the ups, the heartbreaks, the hopes, you know this isn't just a TV show. It's a mirror, a reflection of real-life struggles, choices, and the kind of quiet strength it takes to walk away when something just isn't working anymore. Lately, the mirror's been cracked, maybe even shattered. The Brown family, once united by the principles of plural marriage, is now drifting toward something much more recognizable and possibly more hurtful: apartness, self-preservation, recovery. They've transitioned from one family to multiple, each individual learning to navigate what feels like an entirely new existence. And not everyone is handling it well. There's Christine, packing her bags, not in sadness, but in celebration. She's not just traveling to Europe with her new husband, David. She's stepping fully into a life that no longer asks her to wait, or to shrink, or to sacrifice. But even then, a question lingers. Can joy truly take root when you've spent so many years surviving? And then there's Janelle, quiet, steady, the one who used to occupy the center as the rest crumbled. Now she's offering insights that resonate deeply. Insights on anxiety, identity, on finally prioritizing yourself. She's healing, yes, but she's also blooming. But standing behind the strength is also the sadness. The kind that doesn't make noise but still tints everything. Meri, usually the most misunderstood of the bunch, is forging her own way now. She's gone on vacation alone, discovered new inspiration, and started to heal a rift with herself. The quiet loneliness that used to feel like punishment has become something gentler, a choice rather than a sentence. But how do you rebuild when the groundwork was never really there to start with? And then there's Kody, the voice we used to hear so frequently, the father, the husband. His voice is different these days, unstable, sometimes even lost. That tentative admission he made about having trouble with unconditional love wasn't strange in itself. It disclosed something more. A man perhaps coming apart, not knowing how to reach out to a family that doesn't revolve around him anymore. In the meantime, the grown-up kids are maturing and increasingly growing away. Gabe's lost 75 pounds and perhaps discovered love in a new town. Maddie's parenting her own children with dignity and quietly marking boundaries about what type of father figure she chooses to honor. And others? They're trekking trails, pursuing passions, learning how to exist without the old burden. There is pride in their accounts, but also loss. Maybe you've known a family like this, or maybe your own family has felt these rifts. Sometimes it's not one big explosion. It's years of tiny fractures that finally leave everyone standing on separate islands, wondering how they got there. And maybe you've found yourself asking the same quiet questions. When is it time to let go? Can love survive when trust has faded? What does one do when the parts we used to play aren't working anymore? It's not about heroes or villains. It's about humans. Imperfect, hopeful, heartbroken humans doing their best amidst a crisis they didn't always see coming. And as we observe the pieces falling away, one by one, we also observe something else start to rise. Independence, strength, even joy. So pour yourself a cup of coffee, get comfortable, and let's dig in a little deeper to see what's actually happening in the world of Sister Wives. This June 2025 update is a bit more than a recap. It's a tale of endings, beginnings, and of the quiet strength it takes to choose you. Let's dive in. There is something very disturbing about listening to a father come out and say he's envious of how naturally mothers love their children. And that's exactly what Kody Brown did recently. On tape, no less. In a Cameo message that soon went viral, Kody revealed something that left fans in shock. Not only does he envy the type of deep connection moms share with their children, but he confessed that unconditional love isn't natural for him. And now that you're the father of close to 20 kids, that isn't a throwaway line. That's a gut blow, particularly when most of us have observed the increasing emotional distance between Kody and the children who don't reside with Robin. It's agonizing, it's perplexing, and in an odd kind of way, it's also profoundly enlightening. If you've been keeping up with the Brown family all these years like I have, then you know what we're witnessing now is not just change, it's transformation. This is not the sister wives we grew up watching. This is something different. Women forging their own ways, discovering themselves all over again, and in some instances, finally breathing freely once more. In this June 2025 update, we've got a lot to cover. Christine is living her best life in Europe with David. Yes, without Truly, and fans definitely noticed. We'll talk about what that really says about where she's at now. Janelle's moving quietly but powerfully in a new direction. Meri took a reflective solo trip. And the adult kids? Maddie and Gabe especially. Well, they have some things to say. And it's not all roses and sunshine. And then there's tell-all host Sukanya Krishnan, who finally responded to the criticism she's been receiving. And let's just say, the fans aren't exactly biting. If you're in the mood for a real conversation about sister wives, the kind that doesn't pull any punches, be sure to subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, and leave your thoughts below. I'd love to know how you're feeling about all the shakeups affecting this family. Let's begin with Kody Brown. She's in a whole other stage of life these days, and really, it's a pleasure to watch. Just the other day, she and her husband David went on a mini vacation with her youngest child, Truly. They visited Big Rock Candy Mountain in Utah. Not a huge, luxurious trip, just some quiet, quality time together. They strolled around, looked around, enjoyed some laughs. And if you've been observing this family as long as I have, watching Truly smile and unwind, especially with David there by her side, was one of those full-circle moments. Truly has been bearing a lot, being the youngest daughter of that plural marriage. But Kody? She's building a life for her that's calm, steady, and joyful. Things that were frequently lacking previously. Then, not much later, Kody and David flew off again. This time to Europe. Switzerland, Germany, Austria. The type of fantasy vacation that, years before, most likely didn't even seem within reach. Now, they did travel without Truly, which did provoke some surprise from fans. But let me tell you how this works. For the first time in a long time, Kody put herself first. Not in a selfish way, but in a way that says, I've given so much for so long, and now it's okay for me to enjoy life too. She's not just surviving anymore, she's thriving. And at home, life's progressing there too. Aspen's having her first child, so Kody will be a grandma for the second time. And Mykelti was recently seen in Utah, which has some speculating, was there already a baby shower? Or is one due soon? The entire story surrounding Kody these days? Growth, renewal, freedom. She's a mom, a wife, a world traveler, and an impending grandmother once more. It's a change that is both deserved and uplifting. Kody is literally taking up a life she used to be told she needed to wait for. And now? She isn't waiting anymore. She's taking her joy on her terms. And she's not the only one doing it. The Brown children are also making their own way, far from the drama they were raised in. It really is inspiring to see how each of them is becoming his or her own person, frequently in ways that quietly and profoundly disavow the old patterns. Consider Gabe, for example. This guy just lost 75 pounds. An amazing change, not only in physique, but in attitude. Rumor is he might have relocated to Chicago, perhaps for love. If it's true, it's clearly a new beginning, and one he has certainly worked for. After all the suffering and emotional burden he's endured, it's as if he's finally being given the opportunity to reboot his life, one healthy, deliberate step at a time. And then there's Hunter. He's partying it up in Las Vegas, hanging with buddies, partying through the night, even attending raves. It sounds like he's letting loose, and perhaps he is. But it's also a young man finding out who he is without the burden of family obligations. But don't think it's a complete party and neon lights situation. Hunters also spent time in nature, hiking the likes of Griffith Peak and Mount Charleston. That kind of balance, the thrill of the city with the stillness of the mountains, speaks volumes. He's searching for serenity, in his own terms, after having been raised in a whirlwind. Tony, on the other hand, provided a fun update of his own. He just played in a national chess tournament in Las Vegas. Now sure, to some that may sound kind of dweeby, but trust me, it's really cool. Out of thousands of players, Tony placed in the top tier. He even joked that he slipped a notch in the rankings. But what was so amazing was how proud he was of this achievement, something so all his own. It is nice to see that confidence. And in a tender moment, Maddie posted something about her daughter Evie's life, a dance recital. And if you've been keeping up, you know Evie was born with a limb difference. Watching her out there on stage, dancing bravely and lovingly, was strong. Maddie posted a sincere message of praise, acknowledging her daughter's strength and bravery. It was one of those moments that reminded us, even amidst all the family struggles, love and resilience are deep. Maddie also put up a powerful Father's Day tribute to her husband Caleb, and although she didn't talk about her dad, Kody, explicitly, well, the silence was deafening. The tension between Maddie and her dad is still very much real, and still very raw. Together, these windows into the children's lives reveal something significant. They're not merely growing up. They're growing away from the tension, away from the uncertainty, and in some instances, away from Kody. It's heartbreaking and yet hopeful to behold. Because although it's unfortunate that they had to grow up in such a chaotic atmosphere, it's stunning to watch them constructing healthier, better lives of their own. Now let's discuss Janelle Brown. Behind the scenes and quietly, she's emerged as one of the most inspiring personalities on this entire Sister Wives experience. Janelle was always the voice of reason in the midst of the chaos, the one who managed to hold everything together while the world around her crumbled. But more recently, she's doing something even stronger. She's taking care of herself. This past month, Janelle's been posting some reflective, near-philosophical musings. And you can just sense the increase in her maturity in what she has to say. A standout moment was a brief bit of graffiti she noticed riding by in her car. She snapped a photo and shared it, including the sentiment with her followers. It was saying that we aren't defined by our situation, even when life seems overwhelming or stagnant. She referenced Mel Robbins, who told her, "You aren't anxious. You have anxious thoughts." That small change of mind? It's huge. Janelle explained that it allows us space to breathe, to regain control. And when you consider all that she's endured, years of emotional acrobatics, letdown, and being pulled in a million different directions, that kind of insight feels like a hard-won victory. But it's more than words. Janelle's living differently now. She's doing more, being with more people, and appreciating little things. Just recently, she was seen at a blueberry festival in North Carolina. It doesn't sound like a lot, but really, it says everything. She's claiming her joy, one quiet, earthy moment at a time. Yes, you heard correctly, a blueberry festival. And Janelle didn't only go, she even bought a pair of adorable blueberry-shaped earrings while she was there. Now, that might not sound like much, but it really reveals a lot. These little, unassuming moments, they illustrate how she's discovering happiness in the small things in life, beneath the radar and even further away from all the family mayhem. And here's something even more revealing. Her girlfriends have been flaunting her merch. T-shirts emblazoned with phrases like Teflon Queen and wasted lines. It's not just fashion, it's an entire vibe. Janelle's packaged up everything she's endured. Her humor, her heartache, her toughness, and turned it into a personal brand that talks about survival. The women sporting her merch? They're not fans. They're her crew, her family. individuals who look beyond her portrayal as Kody's wife or a cast member on a television show. Naturally, Janelle's also carrying something more substantial at the moment: the death of her son, Garrison. That pain remains. You can see it in what she says as she searches for moments of peace, while also recognizing that it remains with her. It's not dramatic or loud, but it's always present, simmering just below the surface. And quite frankly, it's a reminder to us all: grief does not have an endline. Healing is time-consuming, it requires space, and it requires grace. Deep down, Janelle is finding room to breathe. She's choosing herself, choosing her peace, and choosing to live life on her own terms. That quiet fortitude she's demonstrating, the slow, steady ascent from heartbreak and confusion, is something to be truly admired. She's not that same woman we knew all those years ago. She's matured, she's solid, and now she's finally the one writing her own narrative. And for real, seeing her step into that authority makes me hopeful. Because sometimes the most difficult fights aren't the ones we scream out loud. They're the ones that go on inside us. And that's where true strength resides. Now let's discuss Meri Brown. She also has been taking some strong, silent steps recently. Moves that feel to be all about being independent and self-realization. Just last month, Meri went on a solo trip to Boston to see a live show with Mel Robbins, the motivational speaker whom both she and Janelle have been quoting frequently of late. And that trip wasn't for pleasure. It was a time to reflect and renew. Meri posted some of those inspiring lessons on her social media, and if you've been following her journey, you can feel it. This is a woman making a transition into a new mindset, one that's very different from the Meri we met in the early seasons. Meanwhile, she's still taking care of the mundane side of things. Lizzie's Heritage Inn, the home she used to transform into a B&B, is having a new roof installed. It's a small renovation, but one which makes it clear life goes on, even when it's not seen on camera. Looking back, Meri's transformation is nothing short of remarkable. She was once the quiet one, often isolated, clearly struggling in the complicated family dynamic. But now, she's reclaiming her voice, her confidence, and her identity. That old loneliness has started to shift into something new, something stronger, a reinvention that isn't about dwelling on the past anymore. It's about owning the future. And honestly, it's a change fans didn't always expect, but one she absolutely deserves. And then there's Kody. During a recent Cameo appearance, he left us shaking our heads with another head-scratching admission. In the brief clip, he simply admitted to being jealous of mothers who can love their children unconditionally since the day they were born. Let's be real. That type of confession is, unusual, but it's also very revealing. Here's a man, Kody Brown, who's been at the center of the sister wives story for years. And yet, now we're watching him admit he struggles with something as basic and as vital as unconditional love for his own children. That kind of vulnerability didn't just surprise viewers. It exposed some deep cracks in how he's shown up as both a father and a husband. You can't help but wonder, how have these complex feelings influenced his relationships over the years? And most importantly, how much damage have they caused? For many longtime fans, it's created a sense of discomfort and even sadness about where Kody truly stands now in his own family. At the same time, host Suki of the Tell All specials has gotten caught up in her own storm of criticism. Speaking with Sarah Fraser recently, Suki made a defense of her method, saying that she attempts to be respectful, particularly when children are involved. She affirmed that she doesn't believe in screaming or being hostile towards people, and that's just not her personality. And sure, at face value, that seems reasonable, but a lot of fans are still left disgruntled. They claim she's too gentle, even too maternal, especially when it comes to the way she interviews the wives. Take the controversy around Robin and the dolls, for instance. Fans were expecting her to dig deeper, push harder, but instead the issue was skirted around gently. Conversely, she's made light in public about drinking wine with Christine and Janelle. Although it's innocuous, Comments like these have caused some viewers to wonder if she's a bit too close to the cast to provide legitimate journalistic objectivity. And that's where the problem lies. Fans are craving raw honesty, accountability, the kind of conversations that reflect the real emotional stakes we've seen play out. But instead, the tell-alls often feel watered down, safe, carefully packaged. So it begs the question, are these episodes meant to deliver truth? Or just serve as another controlled chapter in a long-running reality TV narrative? As we wrap up this month's newsletter, one thing is certain. The Sister Wives family is undergoing a deep change. What started as a plural marriage founded on common values and high aspirations has disintegrated into something entirely different. A collection of broken homes, each person attempting to find their own path. Some are healing. Some are entering freedom. Others continue to navigate through pain and uncertainty. Christine's European adventure with David is more than just a trip. It's a symbol of a woman fully stepping into her happiness. Janelle and Meri's solo paths show quiet strength, self-worth, and the beauty of reclaiming your own space after years of struggle. And then Kody. His recent utterances and his increasing distance from a good many of his children suggest the picture of a man stuck in emotional quicksand, of a man not quite sure where he fits in the world that he assisted in constructing. So now I'd like to hear from you. Do you believe Janelle and Meri are really better off by themselves now? Has Christine finally shed the burden of the past? And what about Kody? Can he ever return to genuine connection with his family? Or are we seeing the start of a more profound unraveling? Your opinion counts here. This is a place for honest talk, not glossing over. So if you haven't yet, go and tap that subscribe button, give the video a thumbs up, and above all, share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's have this conversation honest, reflective, and to the point, just like the stories we're tracking. Thanks so much for watching.